Hey guys, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my uncle. He passed away recently, and at his memorial service, they did something that I thought was really cool. After the pastor finished saying a few words, instead of having a traditional eulogy where someone close to him stood up and gave a eulogy, they did something else. They had a live microphone that they passed around, and whoever wanted to say something about my uncle had an opportunity to. And it was just a really great way to see sides of him that I didn't know about. To learn stories about him that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And I think it was just a really great way to remember his life. And the best one by far came from one of his sons. And just the stories that he told made me appreciate him so much more than I already did. I didn't know a lot of these stories. I wanted to share some of them because they were so telling about the kind of guy that he was. And this is my cousin, his son.
I like to talk. John told me I need to make a 15-minute speech. So somebody time me, please. I don't know. There's a lot of people in this room right now. Everybody loved my dad. I mean, it was difficult not to. I mean, he's just a good guy. He was a really good guy. And everyone knew that, just talking to him a couple minutes. And all the hunting stories, and I didn't share his interest in hunting. I just couldn't sit there for that long. I think Jeff and everyone else knows that. Sitting in the woods reading comic books and eating little Snickers bars, and they're waiting for the deer to come up. Dad used to make fun of me for that all the time. I went with him to the Parts of Ammo almost every year. He loved S&K screwdrivers. That was like one of his favorite things in the world. He had you ever see Terminator? He's got like that target vision. It's like green handle, S&K. There it is. Like every time, every Parts of Ammo. Like what'd you get, Dad? Oh, some S&K screwdrivers, a couple Matchbox cars. Look at this one. What condition it's in. Like if you'd hand him something, I came up with a name for it a couple days ago. It was the Jan scan. Most people look at something and look at it, and it's like an object or a baby or whatever he was holding. There's a picture in the slideshow, but he would look at it like this. It's like he's holding his baby granddaughter, and he's looking at her like he's an alien or something. He's never seen a baby before. What's this? Appears to be a can of tuna. Have you seen one of those before, Dave? Yeah. He was always prepared. Like, if you go in his truck, behind the truck, there's he's got it's an arsenal. There's a hatchet back there, just in case he needs to, truck breaks down and he's got to do some whittling somewhere. All of his knives were like laser sharp, every single one. I asked Dad, is this knife sharpened, Dad? And he looked at me like, are you kidding me? He did love history. History was one of his favorite things. And he always brought it up in conversation, no matter what you were talking about. Like, if you were talking about, hey, remember that time in the 80s when everyone was going crazy over Cabbage Patch dolls? And you're like, yeah, I remember that. And then, 15 minutes later, somehow we get back around to Caesar. We had that idea we should have just a game, just start a conversation with Dad, see how long it takes for him to bring up the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire, as he called it. Yeah. I don't know. It's been, it was a difficult month, but he had the day before he went back to the hospital, he had this habit his entire life of talking to the people on the television. And he had been feeling, he didn't realize that he was sick, but he had been feeling a little bit better. Like every day he was getting stronger. He was sleeping. I gave him cough medicine he wasn't taking. He was supposed to take, they gave him codeine cough medicine. I'm like, I'm not taking that. And then, he wasn't sleeping because he was coughing all the time. So I gave him the codeine, and then it was like, he was out. And then the next couple of days he was talking like himself again. And then he was watching the news, and he was yelling at the people on the news. And I remember when I was a child, he would talk to the people on the news, and like, does he know that they can't hear him? He did. His favorite people in the world were his grandchildren. I mean, you saw those pictures. We were all adorable children, but now we're all like, except for Jamie, we're all like big, hairy gorilla men. And then all of his grandkids are cute. They're all cute. Those kids, they're cute. So, Jack, you're going to be a big, hairy gorilla man someday. I'm trying to think of something else to say. Is it 15 minutes?
You got 9 more minutes, Dan.
All right. There's one more story. I think it sums him up. It's something he said to me once. He was a very simple man. And he had an ocean of knowledge in his head about everything, like actual useful information. Like, we all know, I could tell you the origins of the whole Justice League, but it doesn't help you change a tire. It's not useful, but Dad's like, oh, you gotta do that. You do this, but he was very humble. He didn't realize how important. I don't think he realized how important he was to everybody. He was very simple, and I think the best summation of that was a couple years ago. He loved spaghetti. I guess one of his favorites. He just really liked spaghetti. I don't know. And he liked sopping wet spaghetti, too. It's like, you like noodles right out of the thing, and then covered in sauce, and it had that tomato water in it. And we got like a different sauce. We usually get ragu. But it was like mollies or something. It had like sausage or peppers in it or something. And I was sitting in the chair next to him eating spaghetti. I was like, "Dad, this is pretty good sauce for a change, isn't it?" He's like, "No." I was like, "What do you mean by that?" It's like, let's try something different every once in a while. I was like, "Dan, when you move into your own house and make your own spaghetti, you can make it whatever way you like. I like ragu and meat." And that was him. He was very, he knew a lot of things, but he was very unpretentious, like too unpretentious. And, Rob telling stories about his camp cooking. I don't remember the last time he cooked anything. He pressed the buttons on the microwave. He wanted a hot dog at camp. Like, Dan, make me a hot dog. Give me one of them hot sausages. That's too hot. Too spicy. Give me that over. He had the accent too, like the Pittsburgh accent. Like, we made fun of him for it. Like, Pap was trying to pawn off this set of metal drawers with like heavy chains in it, and Pap was like, "You want to take this, Jen?" And Dad's like, "Dad, that thing's got to weigh 500,000 pounds." A couple years ago, the cat had a mouse cornered in the house, in her teeth, and Dad was telling me about it. He's like, "What's going on, Dad?" Like, "The cat's running around the house with a mouse in her mouth." It's like, did you find the mouse? Like, "No, she's got it under the couch." We like to make fun. He was really easy to make fun of. He was easy to caricature, and he had all these sons who could draw. He had big glasses and a mustache. He was like the guy in the Pringles can. He was really easy to make fun of, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it when we made fun of him, but it was just so easy. We used to have this contest in the back of the car. We would say something, he didn't like it when we said outrageous things, so we would say like, I can't repeat anything we said. The contest was to get him to turn his head around while he was driving the car and go, "Hey!" He was was, he never yelled. I don't remember him ever really yelling at us or getting mad, but he had, 4 sons, and we were all like, giant hairy gorilla men as we grew into maturity. So he couldn't, he had to assert his dominance. So what he would do is he'd put his forehead up against our forehead, stare right into our eyes. And then you knew he meant business.
Did he spit on you when he talked?
A little bit. I guess I should just stop talking. Anyone who knew him loved him. We all love him, and I don't know what we're going to do without him, because he was like a rock to everybody. He was a steady voice, and when things were difficult, you could rely on him. Like everyone, you could count on him if you needed him for something. And I hope we can all be like that in the future. Yeah, I gotta stop talking. So, please take this microphone from me.
And so, that was my cousin. I had never heard most of those stories before, and they gave me such a great insight into, him as a dad. Things that, as a nephew, you don't get to experience a lot of those things as often. But just, not only his story, but all the other stories that were told, I just thought it was like really great, and they all kind of made me think of times like, what did Uncle Jan do in my life that's something that, was a story that most of these people probably haven't heard, most everyone here. So I kind of thought of some, and I just wanted to share them. So a lot of people talked about how Uncle Jan was really humble, and he was great. He was a nice, humble guy. But he was also very inspirational. Growing up, I didn't have a dad. And so, some things that dads do with you, like they pick you up, they manhandle you, they wrestle with you, they tickle you, things like that. I didn't get that as much of exposure to that growing up. But, my uncle would come over, and, he had a bunch of sons. I was like the same age as them, so I was this little kid. And, he would just like pick me up and start like tickling me, and there was nothing I could do about it. Like I said, I was this little kid, and he was this big hairy gorilla man, and he would just tickle me, and I would laugh, and but inside I was mad. I was mad that I couldn't not laugh. I was so frustrated, and it's like he did it every time, and I just couldn't stop. So I made a decision one day that I'm going to train myself to not be ticklish anymore. And I realized very quickly that you can't tickle yourself, so there's really no way to train. There's nothing you can really do. So I just made a vow to myself. I'm like, all right, when he comes over, he does this every time. When he comes over, I'm going to resist it. I'm going to fight it as long as possible, and eventually I'll build up a resistance to it. And so he would come over, and he would tickle me, and I'd laugh, and I'd be angry. And then he'd come over again, and I'd be just there, and I laughed, and then I was angry again. And so I was like, all right. By the 4th or 5th time, I'd built up a resistance to it. I was fighting it, and I'd become resistant to being ticklish. But as soon as I became resistant to being ticklish, he stopped trying to tickle me. It's like he knew. He saw me and was like, all right, I'm done. And I appreciated it. It made my graduation party a lot nicer. So Uncle Jan definitely knew a lot about history, but he remembered a lot of stuff about personal lives too. So the kind of things that you don't always remember about, like once you get down to especially nieces, nephews, some of the finer details in your life, it's hard to keep track of everything. He had 5 kids, grandkids, but he still paid attention to the smaller things. Like we were at Pap Nicholson, so that's Uncle Jan's dad, and me and my wife were there for a holiday, and we were talking with Pap Nicholson, and Pap Nicholson was like, hey, you guys still down there in New York? And we're like, yeah, we're still in New York. And he was asking my wife, he's like, hey, you still working at that shoe store with Simon? And me and my wife just kind of looked at each other a little bit confused, because my wife works for a publishing company in New York City, and so we were just like, a shoe store? How do you get that? And Uncle Jan goes, no, Dad. No, she works for Simon and Schuster. It's a publishing company in New York, Dad. And so, I mean, I just, it was great. It was like perfect. I mean, I can't sum it up better than my cousin did. But, you know, he will be missed. He was a good guy, and I was happy that I got to learn so much more about him at the memorial service. And, you know, I just wanted to share that with the kind of guy he was, and I wanted to make sure that as many people knew that as possible. So, thank you, Uncle Jan, and we love you, and we'll miss you.